Kirby Air Riders has a story mode, so let's talk about it. Kirby games have stories. I think a lot of people don't realize that because they deliberately dress themselves up as, who give a dink, just play the stupid campaign kids games. But yeah, they can even get a little complicated sometimes. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. My favorite in terms of story is likely Kirby 64. Through their wordless interactions alone, I began to love the friendship between Kirby and Ribbon. Began to love the little ragtag group of friends, enjoyed when I saw my friends helping me out on a mission. Felt worried when I realized that Ribbon was in danger during the fake ending, and felt convicted to protect her when 02 came a knockin' as the last boss. That's not just a good game story, that's a great one. Mock me if you like, but I stand by the Bowser rule. Bowser is context because he's big and mean and scary. He's more satisfying to fight than a series of plain hitboxes would be if they acted identically to him. Bowser is context, thus Bowser is story. And 02 was more fun to fight because I liked Ribbon, and because 02 was a clear, present, and effectively creepy threat to both myself and her, and hell, the world at large. There's a little game that I love very deeply, it's called Kirby's Epic Yarn. That and the original Kirby Air Ride are two of my favorite games I've ever played. Kirby's Epic Yarn was significantly more childlike than any of the Kirby games before or since, and intentionally so. I know it seems odd to the outsider that a Kirby game could be more childlike than they already are, being about an adorable pink puffball like they are, but to the initiated, you already get what I mean. Kirby's Epic Yarn is deliberately manifesting the feeling and narrative cadence of a children's bedtime story. It's adorable, and its story is appropriately toothless, but what's more, it's narrated by a loving, fatherly voice that's doing adorable mock voices for the different characters. If you haven't played Kirby's Epic Yarn, find a way to. It's great. Pairs particularly well with either small children or... not both. Can't recommend mixing the two. I didn't see anyone particularly upset about Kirby's Epic Yarn, nor particularly upset about its story. There's a reason I bring it up here, and I think it's because somewhere along the way, instead of the wordless communication of events that characterized Kirby 64, the fellas at HAL realized, oh, this narration is a much more straightforward way to tell a moderately complicated story than trying to have characters imply it through complicated, expensive animation. And yeah, he was right, whoever said that. That's how Kirby Air Riders' story is told. Same narrative voice as Kirby's Epic Yarn, but telling the strangely convoluted kind of story you would expect to be a spin-off of the Subspace Emissary. Spoiler warning from here on out. Kirby Air Riders' story mode, entitled Roadtrip, is the story of Zora, a living machine that fell from the sky and was trapped in motionless sentience for what's implied to be multiple millennia. It had a wish to move freely and explore. This wish became so strong that it was heard by the Fountain of Dreams, which felt like doing its job for the first time in, 30 years? And decided to try granting Zora's wish by indirectly telling Galactic Nova, an amoral Lovecraftian space entity, to grant it because the Fountain can't be asked, I guess? So Galactic Nova made a bunch of cool machines, and also the Bulk Star, and shipped them off to Earth, thinking that ought to do it. But it turns out giving a skateboard to a quadruple amputee doesn't make them mobile. Especially when they don't have a gigantic army of terrifying mechanical spiders to put the person on top of it. Nice work, Make-A-Wish Foundation. So Galactic Nova tried again by granting Zora's wish of having an army of terrifying mechanical spiders rip its soaking wet brain from its nervous system and place it inside of a scorched earth world-ending tank the size of a small castle. Which I'm pretty sure was Zora's wish? I think so. Anyway, if you're starting to see how this could possibly differ in tone from Kirby's Epic Yarn or its contemporaries like the Very Hungry Caterpillar, then I think maybe we're on the same page. The huge Scorch Earth tank is called Gigantus. Not spelled the way you'd think it would be, and if it wakes up and starts moving around, it risks killing everyone and everything on Popstar. The end. Good night, son. Sweet dreams. Okay, no. You eventually stop Gigantus from destroying Popstar, and if you get the true ending, release Zora into space, allowing it to roam freely among the stars. If that's not how it went down for you, and you thought the ending came across weirdly heartless, then you didn't get the true ending. So is it good? Well, I have three major things to say. 1. I love the game itself. Roadtrip is a very cool way to communicate the long-distance travel concept, and it feels like you're going a very long distance. Reminds me very dimly of one of my all-timers, the Oregon Trail, but then so does Death Stranding, Lonesome Dove, and Salted Pork. It's really not hard to put me in mind of the Oregon Trail. Still though, it's a nice correlation. 2. The idea of multiple stars and people are all being drawn to the same place, better get going if you want to find out why, is a concept with a lot of intrigue. It's how most of my favorite stories go. There's something unexplainable, better keep watching if you want the explanation. The Third Man, weapons, Planescape Torment. Keeping your trap shut when the audience asks for an explanation is a quick path to a decent time. And 3. They shouldn't have done the narrator thing. At least not in the deliberately storybookish way they did. I get it. You play as different characters in this, and you're playing with some fairly complicated ideas in this story. Creating a wordless, bespoke campaign of animations for each and every playable character was just never going to happen. I don't even think it needed to be that, but what the narrator does here is remove any texture from the story. It's all tell, no show. Zora is sad. It's never explained to me what Zora's actually feeling. Is it wanderlust? Is it resentment? I kind of have to take your word on it because you chose the exact narrative voice that robs any interaction of any kind of all its subtext. I have to take your word that Noir Dedede, who yes, feels like a DeviantArt fan character, is the splitting of Zora's will, trying to keep the air ride vehicles from showing up so the world isn't destroyed. But all the rest of Zora is still perfectly happy to wake up and destroy the world? I'm told a number of things, and am given no means to expand on them myself. Once again, compare Ribbon from Kirby 64. Because she moves like a person, acts like a person, thinks like a person, I ascribe personhood to her, and I like what I see. If Zora or Noir Dedede talked once, said anything, did anything besides what the gameplay needed them to do at any given moment, I might be able to connect. What's worse is that it doesn't even do a great job of explaining what's going on in the story, even though this narrative voice is supposed to be utilized to explain concepts as clearly as humanly possible. When it's time for the gameplay to be enriched by the narrative by leading us into a race for Kirby-kind's future against Noir Dedede, I have to have it explained to me after I failed the first time that the reason I'm racing Noir Dedede is because if he gets to Gigantus first, it will self-destruct? For some reason? What if I'd beaten it the first time? I'd have no idea why it was important that I raced Noir Dedede in the first place, and I still don't have an answer as to why it's so important who destroys Gigantus, me or him. It suffers from too little texture to feel at all consequential. Kirby 64, Planet Robobot, Forgotten Land, managed to balance narrative textures like speaking, discovery, and action in ways that enrich the gameplay experience. Star Dream, Thecto Forgo, and Zero 2 all felt very consequential because I knew what I was fighting for and wanted to win that much more because of it. I didn't get the same from Kirby Air Riders. I'd still recommend it. This game is too much fun, man. It's the game I finally broke my never pay more than $60 for a game rule for, and if I was gonna break it on anything, this was probably a good one. And the single player and Roadtrip is still fun. But yeah, Kirby has done story better.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's revelries are ended. If you enjoyed the video in any way, all we ask is for a humble subscribe in the tin can currently being passed around. On the screen before you is a list of our patrons who have decided to donate their hard-earned coin. And you may visit us after the show if you wish to join our steadily growing list of patron supporters. I hope to see you all again soon, and thank you for stopping by.